been in the printing business for 23 years. I got into printing when I was in college, because it was a job that would work with my college schedule. And actually, right out of high school, I started playing in bands. And through college, I played in bands. And when I got out of college, I said, you know what, I'm going to do that for a while. So I did. And I went out and wrote music with people and did things and played lots of gigs and lots of places, and saw and did some things that maybe I shouldn't have done, and a lot of things I should have done. And it was a lot of fun. It was a good time in my life. But, you know, like a lot of things, they run its course. And so at a certain point, I decided to kind of leave that aside, and I was looking for a creative outlet. I dabbled in painting and cooking and different things, different artistic endeavors. Nothing really took. And I didn't smoke a pipe until I was about 30. And my father smoked a pipe. I grew up going to the pipe shop all the time with him. And I started thinking about that when I took a trip to San Antonio, Texas, and there's a cool little pipe shop in a hotel that we were staying in there. I walked in there, and it just reignited my remembering of what I saw as a kid. So I bought a pipe and some tobacco, and I knocked it around for a while, and then I started looking at on the internet and different things, and I started seeing all these really cool shapes and Danish shapes and things, and what you could do with pipe and with the wood and so forth. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. So I started collecting more and more pipes. And at first, I was really attracted to the crazy shapes and the really out there Danish stuff. I started making pipes maybe 5 or 6 years into that. I got one of those, it's the same story you always hear. I got one of those pre-drilled blocks. My wife bought it for me. I noodled it out, with a Dremel, and I thought, wow, this is really cool. And so I thought about it for a long time. I said, do I really want to invest in this? Do I really want to do it? I wasn't doing anything else at the time that was fun, really. So I did, and I took it one step at a time, and almost talked myself out of it a few times. And but I tell you, once I bought the first lathe and cut the first pipe all the way from scratch, I said, I was hooked. And so that's where I am. That's where I started, and it slowly progressed.
Do you remember when you sold your first pipe?
It was probably it was probably within the first year of I was carving. In that first full year, this guy I was working with found out I was doing it, and he wanted to see him, and I showed him, and he bought it. So it was cool. It was kind of a stimulator. It showed me I was doing the right thing.
You do a lot of retail too, don't you? So
I have some retail contacts, yeah. I think that's a pretty good way to get your name out there, and I know that there are some guys that do it full time, and that's all they do, especially Europeans. And so yeah, I always entertain that. It depends on who it is, and I like to form good partnerships. I do that in the business world too. When I deal with vendors, and because I'm an estimator in the printing business, and I used to be a purchasing guy, and so I deal with vendors and customers, everybody across the board, and so I like to find good vendors and build good relationships with them. It's important for your business to do the right thing, and so I find good people that are going to treat me right, and I treat them right.
what about a website?
I have a website, SherwoodBriarPipes.com, and I do sell off the website also. Cool. Any other questions?
What's your favorite shape?
My favorite shape? Overall, it would be a cutty. This is my latest version of a cutty. And again, I take a traditional shape and I kind of put my own spin on it. I've made them with the feet and without the feet. I've made them more canted, more straight. You know, it just depends on what the wood tells me and what I'm feeling that day. And I draw out stuff at work all the time. Don't tell my boss. And you know, so I'm constantly noodling with the shape. And that's a cool shape to play with because there is a standard cutty shape. But as you guys know, you've seen 100 different styles of cutties. It's like a blowfish. You know, there's 100 different ways to interpret that shape. You know, a billiard is a billiard. And it's a great pipe shape, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't lend itself to a lot of experimentation. So that's one of the things I like about a cutty.
Questions? So how about sizes? You got a big one in your hand. You got a small one.
What? That sounds so good.
Wow, edit that out, please.
What do you put in your pipes as far as, do you line them with anything?
No. Well, with Mimo the cutter suggested that I coat the bowls with strawberry wood. So this is a food grade, friendly, safe for the family coating. And that's just to kind of protect the wood. The wood is a little bit different in the sense that it's just as hard as briar, but he did mention that it burns just a little bit faster. So to get that first carbon, you know, layer in there, he suggested I coat those. And I know the other guys that are cutting this wood are doing the same thing. So it's not an unusual thing. As far as briar goes, I do not coat the bowls. I feel that if you age the wood properly and it comes from a reputable cutter and there's no flaws in it, that wood is going to lend itself to, you know, you're going to find the right tobacco for that wood, and those two are going to come together, and it's going to be an experience that you would not get if you coated that bowl and masked it. That's just my opinion. And I'm sorry, you mentioned size.
Yeah.
How could I forget that? All over the scale on size. I prefer smaller pipes myself, group 4 in that range. And this is about where I typically stay, group 4 to a small group 5, sometimes a little smaller, but occasionally I will make something big. This is actually a smaller piece for a big one that I've made. I've made some large soda